I just got home from a Christmas dinner dance with my dance group that I go to, the Moose. It was very nice at the Plaza Hotel, and I just figured since I'm all fixed up here with the makeup and everything, I should do an episode because this is about as good as it gets at 69. And it was rainy tonight, or my hair might look a little better. Anyway, here I am. So after Puerto Rico, Bob and I decided that we would keep on living together, and we got an apartment, and we needed to get jobs. So we happened to be able to both get a job at um, Laird's Applejack Distillery and Bottling Company. Um, it was out in the country, in the horse country, where the horse farms were in New Jersey, a little town called Scobeyville, right next to Colts Neck, right next to delicious orchards where they get the apples for the Applejack whiskey. Laird's is a company, a family-owned company, and they're still operating. And they started in 1776. George Washington drank Laird's Applejack, and oldest distillery in the whole country. I worked there for 4 years. So Bob and I got the job together. We were working out in the plant, a bottling plant. It was pretty cool. I liked it. Every 2 hours they would switch us to a different spot. Well, the guys, Bob, he stacked pallets, so he was always at one end of the line or the other, either dumping glass, which was dumping the empty bottles on the beginning of the bottling line, or stacking pallets at the end of the line. And I would work on the line with other ladies, and we would have different stations where it was like quality control. We would watch the bottles come through, and we would be assigned to a certain position. Like if I was assigned to necks, that would be that label that goes around the neck of the bottle, and I would just watch the necks of the bottle as they came by, and if one was crooked, I would pull it off the line. And so they had different, all women working at the different labels, and I would have somebody sitting right opposite me. Like I might do back labels, and the front label lady would be sitting across from me, and the collar lady would be sitting next to me. And the fancy bottles would have different things over the top. We're talking about whiskey bottles, so some of them are pretty fancy, the more expensive ones, and they would have these seal things that go over the lid, and some of them would have ribbons on them and stuff. We have to watch that they all are on nice and straight, and pull them off and straighten them out if we needed to, and put them back on the line. And then we had ladies at the end of the line that would pack the bottles into the cases, and I would switch around every 2 hours and chit chat with other ladies, and it was all good, and it was kind of fun. But I only worked there I think I was there like on the line maybe 2 months, maybe not even. I think it was like 6 weeks that I was working on the line, and then they fired the girl in the office. It's funny, almost same thing happened when I worked at Kmart. Girl in the office got fired, so they pulled me back into the office. And I was doing the inventory control. I kept the inventory books. No computers yet. They did have a computer in the main office. I don't know what they did with that, but I was in the main office was in the old family house, and I was in the big bottling plant, and anyway, I don't know what the computer they used that for, but we did have a big copier, I remember. Things were progressing. And I worked with Larry Laird. He's the president of the company now. He was vice president when I worked for him. And Jack, his brother, was president back then. Anyway, worked there 4 years. It was really interesting. The place smelled like so strong of whiskey when you just walked in the office. Anywhere, all over, it smelled really strong, but we got used to it. And it was a pretty cool place to work. So they would give us at Christmas time, everybody would get a bottle, but being that I worked in the office, they would give me a case, and I could go and pick out anything I wanted and filled up that case with, I could get 6 half-gallons, or I could get, 6 half-gallons, 12 regular size bottles of whiskey, whatever I wanted. They had all kinds. They bottled for other companies. They bottled for Seagram's and Hiram Walker, Jameson Irish whiskey, Old Smuggler's Scotch, all different, a lot of different companies, a lot of rum. That's where I learned that about generics, because I learned that they could get these, they would get these great big vats off the tankers, off of the ships, right? These great big huge vats that were full of the whiskey. And they would bottle from one of those vats, they would bottle whiskey under 12 different labels, or vodka, gin, rye, bourbon, you name it, rum, under all different labels, same exact stuff, same vat. Now there was some that had their own special, the good Scotch, Jameson Irish whiskey. There was a few that had their own special, that nobody else used their label. Used their stuff with a different label, but a lot of it was generic. And you could get the same vodka in the store for, an $8 bottle of vodka or a $30 bottle of vodka. Might be from the same tank. Anyhow, that was pretty cool. Bob only worked there not too long. I don't know, a few months. I don't remember why. He was just stacking pallets and dumping glass, so I know that he must have got bored. And it was hard work. It was very physical. But he went back to painting to the Painters Union. Journeyman he was. So we had this one apartment, not long. I gotta tell you, I was not a good person back then. I was young, immature, messed up. We got this apartment. It was upstairs of a house, and there's this very, very old lady that lived downstairs, and she had something. I think it might have been cancer of her eye. I don't know, but it was really grotesque. Her eye, and all the way down here was all like raw looking, and oozing, and it was, to me, it looked like, it reminded me of a monster. Horrible. Horrible for me not to have any compassion, but I didn't. I was not a good person back then. I just couldn't stand looking at her. She just reminded me of like a grotesque monster. And she was just a little old lady with a cane, but I used to avoid her. And one day she came knocking at my, up the stairs and knocking at the door with her cane, and I wouldn't open it. I just couldn't bear to open it and have to look at her and talk to her, because it was like so scary to me. So weird and stupid of me to be like that when I think about it. Even then I felt terrible. I felt very guilty, like, I should be nice to this woman, but I just didn't have it in me. I'm ashamed to say, but, this is my story. I'm telling it like it was, and I do become a better person eventually. So we'll get there someday. It's gonna be a while because it's taken a while. Um, okay. When I was working at Laird's, then we went to we got a better place to live, another apartment in a house, a downstairs apartment on Atlantic Avenue, in between Liberty and Rockwell. Um, Nice little apartment, little one bedroom, and we stayed there for several years. Uh, at that time, we were still hanging out with those people that we called the crew. You know, we had a lot of friends, Bob's friends mostly. Most of my girlfriends had, they all had boyfriends, or they were married now, or they were and having babies. Some of them had their first babies. I wasn't hanging out with my girlfriends much. Um, Sherry, the one, my oldest one, oldest friend from way back, she is probably the one that I still saw the most of, because she would still come around, and she was going with one of Bob's friends. Actually, she lived with him for a little while, so she was kind of part of the crew a little bit, on and off a little bit, not that much, but so we used to go up to New York and go to concerts. Uh, saw some really great concerts. I saw, let's see, I went to Elton John and Carly Simon. That was with girlfriends before this time. Um, with Bob, I went to see Santana, Bob Marley. Um, who else? We were really into jazz, especially Bob was. He was really a jazz man. Jazz and reggae. We saw Bob Marley. I think I just said Bob Marley. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I know we went to more than that, but I can't remember. I remember going to Village Vanguard and seeing some jazz. Rahsaan Roland Kirk. If you ever heard of him, he was really cool. I think he was blind, and he would play like three instruments at one time, and he played the flute with his nose and stuff. It was pretty far out. Um, we had a lot of good times. So Bob was a musician. He was a music man. He played guitar. He had a Stratocaster, a hollow body Gibson, and an acoustic. Um, Always wanted to get a Martin, but I don't think he ever did get that. But he was pretty good, and all of the friends, all of his guy friends, they all, almost everybody played an instrument, and they used to jam all the time, get together and jam at different places, not clubs. I mean, at somebody's house. We would just go, and I was the groupie. Um, and we did a lot of music like that. I had a lot of fun. I always enjoyed it. I didn't play anything, but I used maybe a little percussion sometimes. But we I think we called us the Hole in the Wall band or something. I don't know, but that was fun. But speaking of holes, okay, Bob and a couple of his friends, Freeze was one, and a couple others, especially one other guy. I'm not, anyway, he's the one, this one other friend of Bob's, he's the one that I was with in the car when I went on the highway in the wrong direction, almost killed him and me. Anyway, the three of them and me, we used to go into the woods, and they started digging this hole, got this idea. This was actually, you know what? This was before Ocean Terrace, even. This was when Bob and I first started dating, when he was living at home and didn't even have a place. We didn't have a place to hang out like that. And dug this hole. Oh God, I remember. Yes, now I remember because the guy that died in the car crash in my episode called Tragedy, he helped dig the hole also with us. And I didn't dig at all. I was just there. I was just always there with Bob. I was just with him wherever he went. There I was. So the guys dug this deep, big hole. It was like the size of a room, right? A small room. Like, but it was deep enough to stand up for the 6 foot tall guys to stand up in. And they put they lowered some easy chairs down there and a little table, so it was like a little living room. And we covered up the top of it with a piece of plywood, so there was a roof. And we would just go down there and hang out, drink Rolling Rocks, and smoke some weed. And we called us the Mole People. I think it was pretty funny. But we hung out down there in the hole for a while. Couple weeks we did that, I guess, before we got discovered, and then we couldn't do it because other people started using our hole. Oh boy, what times we had. So, I was gonna mention when they were always jamming all the time. Bob told me now I wasn't there, but he told me he jammed with Bruce Springsteen a couple times, um, and he told me that when they would pass the J around, that Bruce would always pass. He wouldn't smoke when everybody else was. That he told me Bruce was always serious about his music, and he didn't get high when he was playing. I don't know if he did it afterwards or otherwise or not, but that's all I know. So I had this one friend, Billy, who was a really good musician, and he could play any instrument. He was awesome. He made a music room in his house, and I gave him my violin and all my music because I wasn't using it. He was a sweet friend. So what else did we do? Oh, there was one guy, black guy, part of the crew. His older brother, owned a nursing home, and the brother had a really nice big house on the river. And sometimes, they were from Jamaica, so when the brother would go away to Jamaica, the younger brother, who was our friend, he would have parties. So in this really nice house, but with a very nice yard, big yard right on the river and all, and we would barbecue. We were vegetarians most of the time, but we did eat steak when we barbecued. We would eat some nice steak. We got to where, we were starting to get a little more sophisticated, and we would once in a while go to a nice restaurant, like in Atlantic Highlands, and have some seafood. Bob's brother did stained glass, and he made stained glass lamps for this nice seafood restaurant, and we would go there sometimes, and to the Italian restaurants in Long Branch once in a while. And I mean, we're starting to dress a little nicer. We were getting older, and now we're in our almost mid-20s now. Well, some of them, the guys, were in their mid-20s, and I remember them dressing nicer and all, not just blue jeans and t-shirts all the time. Some of the guys dressed up a little nicer. The styles were changing. The business people or church people would wear leisure suits, polyester leisure suits. I never liked them. And my friends didn't wear them. No, I don't know what kind of people wore them, but people did wear them, but not my friends. Um, so what else did we do back then? That was pretty much it. Oh, Bob and I used to go camping a lot. Um, Whenever we got a chance, we would go tent camping. We went to Cape Hatteras um, quite a few times, and we would camp on the beach. And my boss, Larry Laird, he owned a big tuna boat, a big deep sea tuna boat, which he kept in Cape Hatteras. So one time we met him down there, and he took us out on the boat, and we went deep sea fishing. Caught some big fish. I caught a 35-pound dolphin, not to be confused with the porpoises, the nice friendly porpoises. This was a dolphin that you can eat, and we ate it, and it was delicious. And of course, I had to, I sat in the fishing chair, and I had to have help reeling it in, of course, and I could barely even hold it up for the picture. I have a picture somewhere. Bob got seasick that day. He couldn't have a good time. I had a blast. I went up on the tuna tower and had a really good time. But I took Dramamine and he didn't. So we camped in Cape Hatteras many times. Ocracoke, even the little island down there past Cape Hatteras. Primitive camping where there was no bathrooms. We had to pump our water and all. I remember I washed my hair under that pump and it was so ice cold. We also used to camp in the Pocono Mountains often. That was fun, beautiful up there. There was a lake. We used to go to a place called Paradise or something like that. And there was a lake there that we could go in and all. Where else did we go? Well, I took Bob to Niagara Falls and we camped up there. And then from there we went over to, on Canada side, we went to Lake Erie, camped at Lake Erie, which was terrible at that time in the early 70s. We didn't realize, or we wouldn't have went there, but it was so polluted. They just had all these signs with the skull and crossbones all around, danger, toxic, and all this. And we just stayed there one night, I think, at the campgrounds, but couldn't even go near the lake. There was no beach there anyway. It was all rocks. It was not nice, but I heard that it got cleaned up afterwards, so that's a good thing. Those are the main places that we camped, but we camped a lot. We were like professional campers. So it was fun. Now I did get on birth control pills, and I was on them for a while up until I was 24 years old. I decided to go off because I was reading the side effects, and I told Bob, I said, I've been on these for 5 years, and look at all the warnings. It's like I'm going to get cancer if I've been on them for 5 years. I feel like my body needs a break. And in my mind now, I was 24 years old. And in my mind, I felt like I was ready to have a baby. With him or without him, I was ready to have a baby. And I did want to get married, but I wasn't sure if he did or not. So I went off the pill. Now my time is up, and I'm going to stop here. And see you next time. Thanks for watching.